Hello and welcome to another episode of Disney Movie Investigation. If this is your first time watching, welcome to the show. In each episode, we take a look at a movie that is featured on Disney+. On this episode, we're taking a look at an original TV comedy made into a movie as we take a look at the Beverly Hillbillies. And stay tuned for our bonus story as we take a look at the history of the Davy Crockett Explorer Canoes. And if you are enjoying these episodes, I would ask that you please hit that subscribe button. That way you'll be notified with each new episode. Now, sit back and enjoy this episode of Disney Movie Investigation. So like I said, today we're covering the Beverly Hillbillies. This movie was released on October 15th, 1993. It was directed by Penelope Spheeris. It is based on the Beverly Hills TV show created by Paul Henning. It was distributed by 20th Century Fox. The budget for this movie was $25 million, and it did a box office return of $57.4 million. In terms of the production history, there wasn't really any interesting stories or trivia. This was kind of a straight, direct comedy that 20th Century Fox was known for making in the early 90s. In terms of the cast, we have Jim Varney, who plays Jed Clampett, Diedrich Baker, who plays Jethro Bodine, Erica Eleniak, who plays Ellie Mae Clampett, Cloris Leachman, who plays Ellie Mae, Lily Tomlin plays Jane Hathaway, Rob Schneider plays Woodrow Tyler, and Leah Thompson plays Laura Jackson. In terms of the plot, Jed Clampett and his family move from Arkansas to Beverly Hills when he becomes a billionaire after an oil strike. The country folk are very naive when it comes to the big city, so when Jed starts his search for a new wife, there are plenty of takers and definitely some con artists that are looking to make their first pluck. Some interesting trivia. This movie did have a video game adaptation to it. In 1993, Synergistic Software developed a MS-DOS point-and-click game loosely based on the film. In terms of recommending this movie, I think this is interesting as they have a really great comedic cast, but they really are given nothing to work with in terms of a story. The story doesn't flow, and it seems like it floats from scene to scene to scene with no connecting tissue. And the climax is very disappointing. It kind of leads to nowhere. The movie feels like the jokes were written first, and then the story was written, or the story connective tissue was written afterwards, but very little thought was put into it. I think this movie is a perfect example of how movies in the 90s were popular in video rental stores, because this seems like one that not a lot of people probably would have gone to the theaters, but it's something perfect for the blockbuster family night movie where people would often take a chance on renting a movie because all it would cost them would be $2.99. So this movie is worth checking out. There are some funny scenes in it, but it's not one that I'm going to be going back to quite frequently. So good, but not great. So let's take a look at our bonus story as we take a look at the Davy Crockett Explorer Canoes. This was an attraction which was a free floating canoe experience at many of the Disney parks. The ride was originally called the Indian War Canoes, and it opened on July 4th, 1956 as part of Frontierland's Indian Village expansion. The ride would have real Indian guides aboard each canoe, and this was a D-ticket attraction when it first opened. The ride would close when the Indian Village itself closed in 1974. However, it would reopen on May 19th as part of Davy Crockett's Explorer Canoe Ride, and the guides would now be wearing coonskin caps to coincide with Davy Crockett. The attraction would be located in Bear Country with the new attraction, the Country Bear Jamboree, and the land would be then renamed again Critter Country in 1989 with the opening of Splash Mountain and the Many Adventures of Winnie the Pooh. The ride would run regularly until 1998, and then the ride would switch to seasonal status and where it would run in summer months and on weekends. In terms of the ride itself, guests would load onto canoes from a small boat dock next to the Hungry Bear restaurant. Each 35-foot fiberglass canoe would hold 20 guests sitting 2 per row. Each canoe had 2 guides dressed as frontiersmen, one at the bow and one at the stern. Each guest is given a short, quick lesson on how to power the boat, and the small guests, children size, were required to wear life jackets, life jackets, but they were also available for adults that were not as comfortable in the water. The ride takes a tour around Tom Sawyer's Island, and it is entirely man-powered. There is no track or guide to guide the boat. Into this attraction would float as well into other Disney parks around the world. In Walt Disney World, the ride would debut in Frontierland on opening day, but would close in 1994. In Tokyo Disneyland, the originally opened as Davy Crockett Explorer Canoes, however, would be renamed the Beaver Brothers Explorer Canoes in 1992 with the opening of Critter Country. In Disneyland Paris, the ride would be called the Indian Canoes, and it opened on April 12, 1992, and it would close in 1994. The Shanghai Disney Resort would have the ride called Bilge Rats Bills Explorer Canoes, and the ride would depart from Dead Man's Landing, and it would take a tour around Treasure Cove and Adventure Island's Kohe River. So I was able to do this once in Disneyland. It's actually kind of interesting because it's definitely an exercise workout, but it was nice to kind of go back and do a canoe, and it gives you a nice interesting look around Tom Sawyer Island of Disneyland. And it's nice just to kind of take a breath in the summer and just kind of do a nice casual canoe ride around. So if it is open in the summer months, I definitely do recommend it. It is a lot of fun. So thank you so much for joining us here on another episode of Disney Movie Investigation. I would love for anyone to please leave a comment on what they think of the Beverly Hillbillies. And if you've ever had the chance to do the Davy Crockett Explorer Canoes, I would love to know what your thoughts or mini review would be on that one. So as we look forward to our next episode, we're going to be taking a look at a Disney comedy classic as we take a look at Bringing Down the House, starring Queen Latifah and Steve Martin. So until next time, I hope you have a magical day, and we will see you real soon.